Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Masks Off. I'm Kim.
And I'm Tia.
And we are doing something really, really different today. We're actually recording another day, like 2 days in a row. We recorded yesterday, we're recording again today on a Friday at 4:30 for
Just
me.
for fun.
Just for fun, just because we were really excited to share this with you. So I'm going to start with the quote. And then I think I am actually going to just read a little bit of a paragraph just to give some background and set up what we're talking about today.
Good.
Actually, let me just start with the paragraph and then I'll do the quote. So I'm going to share. Sometimes the only way I can determine whether I'm trying to control someone else or whether I'm simply expressing my feelings is by noticing how many times I say the same thing. If I mention something that's on my mind and then I let it go, no matter what response I get, I'm speaking sincerely. If I repeatedly make similar suggestions or ask prodding questions again and again, I'm probably trying to control. Mm-hmm. If I'm satisfied only when the other person responds in a way that I consider desirable and agrees with what I've said or takes my advice, then I know I've lost my focus. Yep. And then the quote is that we should have much peace if we would not busy ourselves with the sayings and doings of others. And that is Thomas A. Kempis. Whoa, does that resonate with you, Miss Tia?
Oh, yes. You?
For sure. Boy, I really never thought of myself as being a controlling person. But when you think about it from that perspective, I am, because I do say things repeatedly over and over, or I ask a lot of prodding questions, and it might appear as if I'm asking the questions because I'm interested, quote unquote, interested, curious.
Yeah.
But if I'm 100% honest with myself, there's underneath there's that I'm wanting to know because I want to control, right? Or I need to be in control.
Right. Agree with me, do it my way, validate my thoughts, my beliefs. Yeah. And when you notice, and too, how we're so sneaky with it too.
I know.
It's like, say this or ask, and then all of a sudden you just twist it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately the same thing. And when I notice myself doing that, when you read that, I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that. I still do it at times.
Yeah.
And you can tell when you have the energy behind it, when you really tap in, it's like, oh, I just want you to do it this way, whether it's your child or another adult friendship, your partner, whatever it is. And I think everyone, for the most part, does this in some way, shape, or form. Even people who are not, like you said, don't think you're being controlling. And I feel almost that a lot of it, it's for our own anxiety, our own worries, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because we don't want the other person to put us into our own discomfort.
Yeah, exactly.
So keep me in my comfort zone and just agree with me, or don't go out driving in that snowstorm, or XYZ. Because I don't want to have to feel the discomfort of you doing something that I don't want you to do.
It's totally, and that's what it is for me, completely 100%, is that it eases my own anxiety.
Right.
Or at least I think it does. That's why I try to control, because I'm usually in a place of, well, let's say with my kids, I'm in a place of worry or anxiety, fear. So I want to control it.
Right.
And even though I'm not using a really loud voice and yelling or demanding, because that's what I think about when I think about controlling people, is a person who just yells and screams and, demands and do it my way. Like, I
Uses
don't
name calling.
name
They don't do
calling.
that, but
Yeah, all of that. And that's not how I present.
right.
I present in, well, I'll say it over and over again, or I keep asking questions because I have to know, like, all right, so what did you do? And when did you, and and who was there and didn't, and, and
What
on
time
and on
did you
and
get
on,
there? How
on and
long
on
did you
and
stay
on.
there for?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Did you hear, can you hear it?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're recording at an unusual time. And so my daughter's unaware, but just let's see, hang on one sec. So that's how it is for me. That I'll just keep asking the same question. So let's talk about, we could talk about for a minute adult to adult relationships, right? When you have another adult going on
Mhm.
so if the person is not responding the way you want,
Right.
right? And what are the ways in which we deal with that? How do we deal with when another person is not in line with what we want them to be doing or agreeing with us?
Right. And when we're in that I want to be right mindset. Yeah. So we're not talking about,
Yeah.
okay, we're agreeing, I don't agree, but I'm okay with that. And like then you don't repeat it. Then you don't go over and over. Then you just like let it go. Right.
Yeah,
We're talking about when we're not letting it go.
I know.
So the control may look different with your child than with your partner or a friend or whatever. And we were talking before we hit record about how the natural reaction is fight, flight, freeze. I mean,
Yep.
there's fidget, there's all sorts of other ones, but sticking with those main ones, so we can keep asking or piling on more information. Well, have you ever thought about, I'm going to play the dance, but really, I just want to get my point across. So you just go, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So that's more the fight. So it may not look, and I think it's really important what you brought up. It doesn't necessarily mean it's aggressive and loud. You can fight with being very calm too.
Yeah. Can you give an example of what that might sound like?
I can't think of a specific example off the top of my head, but I can think of the energy behind it when I have done that. Like, oh, well, have you read this article? Because I'm all about information. My go-to is like, well, I'm a consumer and I'm super spiritual and all that too, but I'm also very analytical.
Me too.
So my analytical mind takes over. So when I want someone to understand my point of view, I'm like, well, there was this study. Did you know this study proved X, Y, Z? So I may go to evidence, but of course, as we know, not all evidence is factual.
I know.
But if it's helping me with my argument to have that other person agree or whatever, I tend to I fight with facts.
So let me ask a question first, because this just came to me. So what is it behind, what's the feeling that's behind the action of somebody not agreeing with you?
Oh, I know.
Or me?
Exactly. Yeah.
What is it?
For me, it's you're rejecting me because you're not agreeing with me. That's my main reason behind that. And I definitely don't, but there are times also, so I will clarify too, there are times where I need my voice, my true self, my true voice has to be stated, but that's a different energy. Like you're not hearing me and you're right. It's not that you're accepting. I don't need you to accept what I am saying and agree with me, but I need you to accept this point of view for me is my truth.
Right.
Which is very different than me when I'm in the mode of, but you have to agree with me because you like me and you're not rejecting me.
Okay.
Where when I'm speaking my truth and speaking up and bringing facts in from the place of, no, you're not understanding. I'm not asking you to agree with me, but you are not understanding my feelings, my situation, my side. And
And
sometimes
even that you can't control. You can't
no,
really control another person understanding you,
exactly.
hearing you, seeing you. So
Ex-
like the reading says that if I mention something that's on my mind
right.
and then I let it go, no matter what response I get, then I'm speaking from sincerity, or like you said, from truth or whatever. So
Yeah, good point.
that's a different energy as well. So you just say it and you put it out there and you let go of however it lands, wherever it lands, and whatever the outcome is.
That's really good. I'm glad you brought that up, because as I'm reflecting on just some interactions, I'm much more likely now, and this is an interesting thing when we start to do this more, because I am doing that more. I'm not, it all depends on the situation, right? But when I'm in that
Yep.
state of, I'm going to speak my truth, your reaction doesn't matter to me. Not in that
Yeah.
I don't care, but I'm not looking for you to change my mind. I'm not looking for you to validate.
Right.
What I have received in those situations where I just state it and then I'm like, I'm out. Not in a mean way, but it's like,
Yep.
I don't need you to validate. I don't need you to disagree, agree, whatever, can come off as cold and uncaring.
Oh, good point.
But I'm
Good
okay. But
point.
when I know I'm in my truth, that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Like, well, you just always have to be right. I'm like, but I don't have to be right. I'm right for me. I'm not trying to convince you.
Yeah.
But it can feel that way to another.
Yeah.
So
And
there's so many different ways it can go.
oh God, it's so convoluted. It's so intertwined, and we're so conditioned to want to control and, to do all this. We're just so conditioned.
Yep, definitely. And noticing, I think the paragraph you read is so insightful.
Yeah.
And then the point you brought up, when I'm just stating my truth, but then when I know I'm stating my truth, I don't need to stay anymore. So I still, when I do have to repeat it in my brain, now I realize that it's still a nudge of wanting to control,
Yep.
or convince, but really it's about
Yeah.
affecting me. I'm wanting that external validation and acceptance, where when I just say it, I don't have to
Yep.
say it again because I already know it. And if
Yeah.
you reject me, that's okay, because I'm not going to reject myself in this.
Yes.
So how about you? How does it show up for you?
I can go in all the directions. Actually, I can fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that many times. I can fight when I'm trying to get the other person to understand me. Mostly for me, like my core wound issue is not being heard and understood. Like that
Right.
goes way back, way deep. So if I'm trying to get the other person to hear me and understand me, I will do what you do as well. I bring in research, I back it up with this and that, and blah, and that just does not work at all. That makes it so much worse.
Right.
So, but I can sit there and fight and argue my point, which I'll often like maybe start with that. And when I get nowhere with it, when I'm not getting the outcome that I want, then I will freeze. I will just shut down, stop speaking, and then flee. I do them all in that order.
It's that fine, whatever.
Yes. Yep.
At least that's my whatever.
Yep. That's what I say. Whatever. Or, that's it.
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm out of here. And then, when I do that, then I ideally, depending on, ideally I would want to do it with every single person that I have that encounter with, come back around after I've settled down and I'm more online in alignment. And then Can we do a do-over and try to talk about it from a different space and energy? But here's the difference. Here is the difference. And I think a lot of times it comes down to the close people in our lives, right? And who we're talking about, because I can sit down with a friend of mine and have lunch or tea or something, and we can just both be just sharing. I don't feel like any desire or need at all to try to control what she's saying,
Totally.
or to have her hear me or understand me. I just share, and whatever she does with what I share, it is what it is, and vice versa. I mean,
Right.
we don't really, well, even if we get into some of the more like quote controversial topics, whether it be politics or something that's,
Yeah.
and she has a different opinion than I do, I still don't feel the need to have to get her to see my point or for me to conform to her point. It's
Right.
just, it's a back and forth, a mutual sharing.
Mhm.
But the ones that are closer in our circle and know how to push the triggers,
Right.
that's harder, family of origin, significant others, kids, like that's where that control, that need, that want to control comes up even more so.
Right. So what is it about how our close relationships really activate our inner wounds more?
I mean, the only thing,
Technically, they should be the ones who stand by us
I
regardless.
know,
We hear that,
right?
right? Your mom's not going to leave you. Your kids aren't going to leave. I mean, they can, but it's less frequently versus a friendship that just kind of falls to the wayside. Like, is it we're more okay if a friend were to leave? Where if a family member or a partner were to leave, it's more painful. What do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question. And I think maybe I would say it depends on each individual, because like for me, it's not about fear of the person leaving. Right. I think,
Right.
I'm trying to think about that. Like if I were to speak up and say something, try to get the other person, like, I don't know, maybe is there an example or a situation that you
Well,
can,
for not being heard, if your friend you were having
yeah,
dinner, lunch with, whatever,
right.
wasn't hearing you and wasn't understanding you, it wouldn't it
Impact
wouldn't it
me.
wouldn't hit you as hard as if one of your kids wasn't, or your
Yeah,
husband or something. So I guess that's where, like,
I know. And it's interesting. The only thing I can come up with is that, more of the people that are in my inner circle are more the karmic relationships, and
yeah,
they're hitting my trigger points
yeah,
because they're supposed to, because that's where I'm supposed to learn.
because we chose them for that,
We chose them.
not consciously.
Whereas, right. Whereas there's less of that tethering or connection
Right.
in that way with friendships. That's a good question. Do you have any thoughts on why it would be different? Or
No,
is it not? I mean, there may
I was just
be
gonna
many
say,
people. That's why I think it depends from one person to another, because
yeah,
for some, they may have friendships where there's a lot of contention
right.
between the two, and they do, go at it and try to control and get the other one.
Because I know people who have had potentially volatile friendships,
Yeah.
um, yet they stay.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting thing to think about. I just need to, and I guess we don't have to put it into a box and
Right.
check
And
it
get
off.
an answer. It's
Everyone's
just
individual.
something to think about.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
will say, I will say, okay, let me back up. And now this is like at least 5 years ago. So of course, where I am today in my journey, it was different from where I was 5 years ago. My
Hmm.
consciousness has evolved even more so, and I'm in a better space. But I did have a friend that I was friends with for about 10 years. And, we had a really close relationship. We shared a lot with each other. And then, but there were certain things, and I also feel like she was karmic for me. She showed
Sure.
up as a particular personality that I needed to learn lessons from, because I'm more of a easygoing, can go with the flow kind of person. She had a more, she had the controlling, domineering kind of personality
Yeah.
where she did have power over me in some
Mhm.
situations. And there were a lot of things, this is interesting. Why? Maybe I was afraid of losing her and I didn't realize it. There were a lot of things that I didn't speak up about, things that she said or did that bothered me. And I didn't speak honestly and approached her with it. And then finally, at one point, I did. I stood
Mhm.
up for myself.
How'd
I
it go?
spoke. I spoke up. She flipped out on me, got
Mm.
very angry and upset. This was maybe it was like 4 years ago. And I have not heard from her since.
Wow.
She did leave me, so to speak. And we were very close friends for 10 years.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And I almost think sometimes losing a friendship is more painful.
It was painful, but,
Yeah.
and when I said what I said and showed up the way I showed up, I knew that I was in my truth. So I didn't have any residual from
Awesome.
it. I just knew. And then it was more clear to me that if she was unwilling or not capable of having an adult to adult conversation
Right.
about me setting a boundary and speaking up, because that's what I did, was set a boundary. If we can't have a conversation about this,
Right.
then this isn't something I want to continue to have.
Mhm.
If she's going to just turn the table,
Right.
which she did, turn the table and just pointed it at me that I did something horribly wrong for just speaking up for myself. Right. So,
Right.
and it was like, okay, then,
But
maybe it
you weren't
wasn't meant
trying
to
to
be.
convince her. You were in your truth. So you weren't coming from a controlling place.
I was not. I
You
was
were
not.
coming from, this is not okay with me, whatever
Yes.
it is. I'm just not going,
Yes.
said you created a boundary, which is it's not okay with me.
Yes.
Whatever type of thing it can be, but that's usually, boundaries are what's okay with me, what's not okay with me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the simplest way to think of what boundaries are.
Yep.
And if someone has a boundary and the other has a problem with that boundary,
Yeah.
that's not the person who created the boundaries.
Responsibility. That's a good word.
It's
Yeah.
the other, to figure out, why is this bothering me? And she couldn't, so she ran.
Yeah.
From what you said.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were okay with it because
I was.
you could not be inauthentic with her anymore.
I could not. So she was in my life for a reason. I had to learn my lesson. I learned the lesson with her. And then thank you. And then I didn't need for her to still be in my life because I learned the lesson. What does that saying? Some people are in your life for a reason, some for a season.
Yeah. Some for,
right?
Yep.
So it was one of those things. And I mean, from time to time, I've thought about her and I just hope she's well and well wishes, and hope she's doing okay. But there was a lot of unhealthiness for me because I for so long was afraid to speak up. So I needed to.
People pleaser, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so I think some of the people pleaser comes into play with what we've been talking about too.
In what way?
In the way of the controlling questions, all of that, but still trying to people please. So instead of just being direct and saying, here's my truth.
Yes.
No, my people pleaser part is I'm going to continue to hit a different angle. So you're still okay with me.
Yes.
But this is my way of convincing you in a nice way when really it's not.
It's almost like more insidious in some ways.
Totally.
Yeah, that's totally the way that I show up. And because I
You
do,
like me.
yeah, because I have, you know, worn the people pleaser mask for so long and still can feel that way. Definitely, I can still feel that way. That's how I do my controlling.
So almost a lot of it is, it's not necessarily agree with me. It's more, I still want to make you happy and get my way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. But then we're also asking the person to people please us in the process.
Say more about that.
If we're trying to convince them to do something, agree with something, whatever it is, in a people pleasing, hitting different angles, so they like
Yeah.
us,
Yes.
right? And they feel, but we do it in a way that we think they feel good
Yeah.
because we're pleasing them, but we're still wanting to get our way.
Yeah.
We're training them to be people pleasers because if they do agree with us,
Yeah.
they are inauthentic with what's true for them.
100%. I cannot say that you're wrong about that. And I most likely, you know, I'm sure I've done that hundreds of times with my kids.
And I can look back in my growing up, and that's how it happened to me, to become a people pleaser.
Yes.
I don't want to do that. Oh, but you have to be nice.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Yep.
I don't want you to be out until 11:30. I want you to be home at this time. And that's just a silly thing, but it all comes into play. And it wasn't a boundary, it was a control. Because when I would be out with person X, I had to be home at 10. If I was out with person Y, I could be home at midnight.
Ah, why?
So,
what was the difference there?
didn't like person X, but liked person Y.
Yep.
So that was a controlling way. And so, so I had to people please, even as it, so it may not look that way, but that's how I integrated it at the time.
So then were you more apt to want to hang out with person Y where you could stay out later? No, you still chose the up.
No. And especially because the judgments that were put on person X were completely inaccurate. When in reality, person Y was probably
worse off.
Worse influence than person X.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. But I couldn't convince otherwise.
It is absolutely amazing to me how many ways that control can show up. And that's why I'm so glad we are having this episode to talk about it. Yeah. This is just one little facet of how control can show up.
Exactly.
And even still, even if you were to tell people that this is control, it wouldn't matter. They're not going to change.
No.
You know?
And it's so ingrained that we don't even realize it sometimes.
I know. And but it's so crucial or so important with the quote, we should have much peace if we would not busy ourselves with the sayings and doings of others. Yep. So we are hurting ourselves as well.
Totally.
I mean, really, that's really where my motivation for wanting to be more aware of this and to work on this more and more is because I want my peace. Right. Like that has become my true north because that's a core value for me. Exactly. That I have not been in alignment with is I want inner peace. Right. I want inner peace. I can't have inner peace if I'm trying to control everyone.
Right. Exactly. And I think I've noticed personally for myself with that inner peace doesn't mean the people around you feel okay all the time.
No.
And so I am more able now. I mean, I still do what we were talking about, but in way more areas than I used to, I am just like, this is the way I'm going to do it, or this is that, or this is my belief. And I say it once and I let it go. And the other person doesn't like it, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying, well, you need to do it the same way. You need to think, but it can often be interpreted that way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, because I'm like, this is how it is for me. You don't have to do it this way. You don't have to agree with me, because it's exactly that. It's inner peace. But it took me a while to feel the inner peace when I got the pushback, when it was just like, here's my statement, I'm done.
I was just going to say, it does take a long time, and it's a process, because you have to build that muscle of inner strength.
Right.
Do what you're suggesting, to just stand in your power and say, this is what I'm saying, this is what I'm doing, and I'm saying and doing it for me. And you may not like it, but I'm doing it for me.
Right.
Regardless. Takes a lot of inner strength. And yet when you can do that, it does give you more inner peace, because
it really does.
The shit storm's going to still be going on around you with everybody else. And it's sometimes tornadoes.
Right.
And that's how it feels. And I'm like, I just want to see. And that goes back to full circle, what we said in the beginning, because the tornado's spinning and I see the tornado around me and coming, spinning right for me. That tornado's coming right for me. And I'm like, I don't want to get caught in it. Right. So then I try to control. I try to put the fire out. I try to fix it so I don't get caught in the tornado. But the truth is, I can't.
It can still be there. But are you still with that still going on? Meaning inner stillness.
Right. And so what I'm wanting and desiring is to have the inner peace and stillness, while the other is having their tornado / shit storm, whatever.
Right.
That's the key.
Not easy.
No, not easy. That's the process. Boy, we are putting our listeners to the test lately with all of these life challenges.
But
it's good though.
Important.
It is.
Really, it's important for me to talk about. So there's the inner truth. Like, we're talking, but if you choose to stop and be like, don't want to listen, that's okay. Like, we both have talked about that. We're like, if we're just talking to each other and we have one person who tunes in, we're okay with
it. Exactly. 100%, because it's helping me to show up right now. I mean, right now, like, it's helping me a lot. My energy, my vibration is up and it's high, because we've just worked through this.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, yeah, this is good.
Just be careful what you ask for.
I know.
Don't need a lot of tornadoes to just practice right now.
No, there's been enough.
Right. Don't
trust
ask
me.
For more.
There is enough. And maybe I will just end on one other analogy that I
do
refer to a lot, and it's because I hear Tara Brach use it so often, and what that reminder is for me and helps to ground me is that whatever's going on in the person around me or even me are just the waves on the ocean. I am the ocean, right? The ocean, especially deep down, is just so still, so present, right? That the depths of the ocean, but the waves can be tsunami type waves. They can be hurricane force waves. They can be, and then they can be as flat and ripply on a calm day. And what blows me away about the ocean when we go to the beach is we can show up on a given day, go look at the ocean. The waves are just flat like a lake, very ripply. The next day, they're like, you're surfing, and then
they're fine again.
Then they're fine again. So, but the ocean way out is just very still.
Yep.
The depths of it.
Exactly. And so we just want to be that really deep ocean still spot.
Yeah.
And ride the waves that are there. Just let them flow.
Just let them flow. We are not the waves. We are the ocean. So, yeah.
Ooh, that might be our title for this one.
What is it?
We are not the waves. We are the ocean.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah. So many titles, but yes, that's a good one. So this was fun showing up on a Friday and
It was.
recording,
It
getting
was.
another session in. And as always, we're so incredibly grateful for the support, for all of you that listen and enjoy what we have to share,
Exactly.
even if it's only one of you out there.
That's right. We're not attached.
All
All right. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Bye.